have zero computer graphics, and I have this group of friends who was completely like misfits. So it was like weird kids even for art school. And the guy who just finished my uni like 2 years prior from me, he landed in his first job in games in the indie company. And we was like so dumb because he was like, hey, we need an animator. How about you will do some courses on 3ds Max and come to work with us as an animator? I was like, yeah, awesome. And I subscribed to his courses.
You're listening to Art Heroes Podcast, the show to help you thrive as a digital artist. Tune in to learn how to transform your passion into a career. Get inspired by other kick-ass 2D and 3D artists and find out what it takes to be an art hero.
Hello everyone. This is Maria JD. I'm your host at Art Heroes Podcast, and this is a special lockdown episode of the Art Heroes Podcast. I'm super happy to have all of you here on the other side. Meanwhile, I'm in my solo confinement in Europe. And before I go ahead and to introduce our today's guest, I would like to remind you guys that this week Art Heroes Academy is throwing a special 50% off of stylized character program. So for those of you who are investing more time in self-development these weeks, there is a new intake, and I'll drop the link in the show notes here. So just go ahead and check out academy.artheroes.co for stylized character program, and the intake is open right now. And actually, our guest today is Alina Ivanchenko, who is a character artist herself. I love her style. This is, it's, if you ask me about my personal preferences, it's definitely something that is memorable. But with Alina today, we're going to talk about career in video games and what is it like for digital artists to build a career in video games. And although her story might be not typical, it's not something that you can replicate, but it just genuinely illustrates how diverse and how unpredicted it could be. So no more talking from my side. Please, Alina, welcome to the show. All right, we're now live. Alina, thank you so much for coming on the show. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me, guys. Nice to see you.
The pleasure is all mine as always. Guys, welcome again to the Art Heroes Podcast. And I'm here with Alina Ivanchenko, live from Canada, right?
Yes.
Montreal. The hotspot.
The hotspot of game industry, actually, and quarantine.
And quarantine. Oh my God. Okay, so for a difference, we're not going to talk scary stuff today, and I'm staying strong to keep the line. And today we're pretty much going to be having an amazing conversation about Alina, about careers in gaming, and about artistic careers in gaming. So, but before I actually go into all of this, let's maybe start with you, Alina. Maybe can you just quickly introduce yourself, or where are you from, and what was the beginning for you, and what do you do now?
So I'm in Montreal, as you said, Montreal, Canada. I've been working in the game industry for 13 years now, which is calculated. So since 2007. And right now I'm working as a character artist for MoonStudios. MoonStudios just shipped this game Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which I'm super proud of. I think we can give a link in the description, right?
Yes, absolutely. We can put the link in the show notes.
But technically, like everybody who's playing games know about Ori, and it's kind of quite a name of itself.
Well, MoonStudios is also quite a name of itself.
Oh, okay, okay, because sometimes like people, there's two types of people out there. First, like I'm saying, like MoonStudios, and like, oh, amazing, and like the other people are just like, what is that? And like, what is like, and I said that I have to tell them, MoonStudios, the creators of Ori and the Blind Forest, and people like, what is Ori and the Blind Forest? And I like,
Well, then we have a problem.
yeah, anyway, yeah, so I'm working for creators of Ori. It's now two games, first and a sequel. Anyway, was working as a character artist, and I did 3D lights for the sequel. Yeah, and should I add something? Before MoonStudios, I was working for Ubisoft for 3 years, and I was working on the titles like Rainbow Six and For Honor. So it's two big titles that Ubisoft produced here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Before that, I was working back in Moscow. I started my career in Moscow, and I moved here, for mobile gaming, then worked for Ubisoft. Now I'm working for MoonStudios, which is kind of between indie and AAA. I don't know
Yeah.
how to name them.
Yeah.
But
Well,
in
that's
what
pretty
each
cool.
category plays.
I see. But is it something that you studied? I mean, digital art, or how did
Uh,
it come to you?
no, this is kind of, I'm self-taught in computer graphics. And I actually was, I have a traditional art school, quite traditional, with easel, with like drawing on paper, drawing on with oils. And back in 2000s, like Russia, we don't even have like computer graphics as a subject to learn in my
Yeah, you
university. It
mean
was
as
actually
a
in Russia.
degree?
Yeah, like we have like zero classes on computer graphics. So um, I taught myself Photoshop, and then in a progression, I taught myself 3D. I took some short courses, and I was learning during my first work in games. During my like first few places, I was like, it was like huge learning curve. Like they introduced me to ZBrush, then to working with engines, etc., etc. So it was kind of a journey.
And then finally, what was your kind of a first job professionally?
It was like very long ago, back in Moscow. I prepared to tell you this funny story how I get into games in the first place after
Sure,
university.
let's go with a funny
And
story.
this is kind of, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous because I like have zero computer graphics, and I have this group of friends who was completely like misfits. We was like weird kids even for art school. And the guy who just finished my uni like 2 years prior from me, he landed in his first job in games in the indie company. And we was like so dumb because he was like, hey, we need an animator. How about you will do some courses on 3ds Max and come to work with us as an animator? I was like, yeah, awesome. And I subscribed to his courses. I did like 3 months of 3ds Max, when I did a little bit of Maya. And like obviously after a few months the spot was taken. But if you think about it, to be an animator, it's actually like it's a full profession. You can't get into this in 3 months. Like no way, absolutely. And like I mean, but it was very new to all this like idea to working in the games. We know nothing, and the industry was really young at that point. So, well, this obviously failed. And the same person, like after some time, said like there is another company is looking for a texture artist. So I went there, I did the test, it was okay, and I started to work with them. And like usual, what happens with the juniors, my first place of work was complete crap. Like the guys with two honors start stopped paying us after 2 months, I think, after project started. So I was working for 2 months without pay, and I was like, should I leave at that point? And I left, like, no money. Like, thanks God I was living with my parents, and I was like, I was not starving. But and then I found a job in this company that called Dot. If you don't like funny name. And they was actually my first real game experience. And they actually but this was a very small studio, like packed with crazy talented people. Some of them are still names in the industry, like Ivan Salyaev. I will give a link. Mm-hmm. And this was my first real school for CG art. Like, I learned ZBrush. I just came and they start to use ZBrush on a daily basis. So they taught me ZBrush, they taught me how to work in the engine, they taught me like how to bake textures, etc., etc. So it was my real school at that point. And the game I was working on was actually, funny enough, Montreal franchise, Montreal license, Disciples Free. The guy who created the series, he is actually the Canadian guy who basically was in charge of the story, etc. So this is how it started.
Wow, that's quite a story. I love that.
Yeah, I know, it's a mess.
It's so crazy, how they're back in the day doing a couple of courses of the overall 3 months direct duration could still possibly give you a job in the industry.
Yeah, but I have an art education, right? I don't have to, I know how to draw, so it gives me like a good base of like, if I eventually, like, my first and second job was a texture artist. So for this, you just need art skills and you need to know your software, hardware, software. Yeah, and this is what.
Cool. And so basically, then fast forward, you're now in Montreal and definitely working on a different level of titles.
Yes, kind of.
Yeah.
Happy ending, American Dream in a way. But do you want me?
But no, I guess I just wanted to see what's your opinion on what it actually takes, because there are so many artists in developing countries, like in in just remote places and just far from hotspots. What did it take you, and what do you think it takes now to make it? Were you like all over the internet, or was it just connections? How did it work for you?
How did it work for me? Well, the thing is, and what most of the people kind of dismiss when they talk about for like this pursuing American dream, not in America, right? So, but like pursuing going to the first world to make games, is that this industry, like, pretty much was non-existent 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and it was rapidly growing, like probably not any other industry in the world, like computers and everything got connected to computers. This is a full new way of entertaining people, right? It's not there, like, even like, you name it, in the beginning of 2000s was still not a big thing. So when it was expanded, and it absorbed a lot of people. It was so hungry for people, it would like headhunt abroad and would headhunt in the third world a lot.
Yeah.
But since the college system, for example, here, like catch up very quickly, and like, because people like playing games, they kind of assume this is what they want to do. So there is but what I'm trying to say, there is a lot more people now wanting to enter this industry.
Yeah.
And having a suitable education here, as well as in Russia or like other places. So I don't want to be mean or upset people, but it's more difficult now than it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not gonna get any easier next years.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I don't think it's impossible. I think it's like if you're stubborn and if you like can like have a goal and can be like really pushing towards this goal, everything is possible, right? We all know these stories all over the internet, right? Like success stories where people who start very low and get to like becoming
where they
CEO
want to be,
of something, right? But I just want to tell that it was not easy even for me, and it's
it's not getting easier.
it's getting way harder. I know that Ubisoft, like at some point they know, like Ubisoft Montreal, they don't hire from abroad. They only like either do transfer from their own studio, like let's say in Sweden to Montreal, or they hire really high level people, like people. I would say people who are stars, and I think it's not even happening now. I think they only do transfers right now. They don't really hire people from outside, from a third world. So situation is like that. Not very.
I see. And so, Alina, now I just wanted a little bit to pick your brain to see what is it like actually working as an artist on a video game, and specifically maybe as a character artist, because that's, I guess, what you do now. Do you get to own a character? Do you get to collaborate a lot? How long do you have to finish a character? So just things like that, maybe high level.
So, before I even start to talk about how my workflow looks now, I just like disclaimer, I was hired to do RPG game. Like the Moon did this like soft announce of a next project. It will be RPG, and they like kind of hint people. But I can't talk a lot about it because it's still gonna be secret for next few years while it wasn't.
Sure. But you can definitely maybe speak about like past projects.
Yeah, but like talking about what I do now, it's like I obviously like let's say try not to go into much detail so I don't give up the secrets, which is under NDA. But let's say like always I have a concept art. Like always, I have a lot of back and forth with the guy who did this concept art. And like basically on any stage of production, like for example, I do ZBrush halfway, I send this to approval, I got some feedback, and I proceed with feedback, and then I do low poly again, same thing, like feedback. And I also MoonStudios has this very interesting system, I think, that I haven't seen in many studios, that literally every person out there can give you feedback because they're like very professional guys. So it could be either my lead or the guy who made the concept, but we usually have back and forth with the concept artist, but it could be my lead, it could be my peer from like the character art team. And this is normal. They all like when you work, you kind of, especially when you work for a long time, you kind of get short-sighted about it. And it's usually a huge help to get some critique, some advice from the side.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of small team, right? We are like 60, 70 people right now, small company, not team even smaller. Team on like probably under under 10 people, including
Okay.
animators. So, and then obviously like low poly also undergoes scrutiny from animators, from riggers, and then final touch-ups, and and then it's done. I'm not sure if I can talk about how long does it take, and I'm not sure because we have very interesting pipeline. I think once it's out and I can talk about it freely, it will be very interesting, hopefully for people to see it. But I can talk about pipeline for Ori and
so like, are you saying that pipelines would different? Because for me, that's quite interesting if pipelines are different for different games.
Yeah, obviously. And I will tell you even more that for each company, the pipeline will be different. Because each company, for example, use different engines. And for you, like as a future character artist, part of your work is actually to not only create the character, but usually to put it into an engine to check if it's looking good, to adjust the shaders, and then your work is done. And I'm like, unfortunately, like I think good 20-30% of my time is this last part when it's when you just basically tweaking, you going back and forward from like 3ds Max, for example, an engine, back and forward, see like stuff is not working, go back, fixing it, send it back. It's not happening in the Moon right now because we're in a very early stage of production. So our engine, our in-game view, it's not fully done by now.
Yeah.
Trying to be careful. I'm in this territory where I should be really careful. But let's say I was working for Ubisoft, and Ubisoft have its own engine. It actually have a few, and it's an open information. The engine I was working was called Anvil, but they also have engine called Dunya.
Yeah.
Female name, and I think another one. But Anvil is probably the most popular of a project I was working was done in Anvil. And this is a very, like, imagine like it's a engine that literally thousands of people was working on. So it's very good. It's very well developed. It has like all kind of physics, lightings, whatever.
Yeah, I see.
And like, let's say for Honor, I was working on weapon stuff, and I would like send it to the engine. Okay, does it look good? Does it look exactly how I wanted it? No, and then I send it back to Max. I send it back to Substance Painter. And even, let's say, in each team, we have a different pipelines. Same company, literally next room, will have a different pipeline.
Wow, that's interesting.
And this is something that you have to be ready for. Like keep in mind that every time, like, not you, but everybody who is coming to this profession, what you will have to do coming to a new project, you have like to spend maybe 1 month adjusting to this pipeline. Learning engine, for example, is Anvil. Like, obviously, never have a chance to work in it before I came to Ubisoft, and I had to learn. For Moon use Unity, and it's an open information as well. Like, I have to learn how to work in Unity.
Yeah.
So, and you have to adjust. And basically, for example, what was absolutely great on Rainbow, for example. Rainbow Six is a Ubisoft title. They even have Substance integrated into an engine. So I don't have to go an extra mile to export my texture. We have one button, boom, it's in the engine. And we can check it immediately, and you can send it back.
This is very interesting, like as you're speaking, I understand how much flexibility an artist should have in terms of, and like speed also to learn new stuff. But what do you think are some of the essentials now for somebody who's entering gaming industry, even if it's like indie game company, first job that's not going to pay you after 2 months, but like some of the really, really must haves. Because I guess when many people are looking at careers in games as artists, they would not know all the stack they need to learn. So what would you recommend to start with?
Actually,
ZBrush.
as we were just talking, it's hard to predict what exactly the pipeline at your studio is.
Good point.
Like
Really
I think
good point.
in general people like advice for people who want to enter game industry right now to use, it will be bundle consistent of like ZBrush and then Substance Painter, Designer, Painter mostly for character art, and then what? Well, it's good to have your foot into the engine. It's good to learn, like, let's say, Unreal or Unity when you're starting, just to get the idea how it's gonna look like, how the engines works. But I have to say that each engine is way different, and many companies prefer to have their own homemade engines. So I wouldn't put a lot of effort of like knowing Unreal like perfectly, because there is a good chance you come into your first work and they have the homemade engine and they probably not as developed as Unreal or Unity, and they gonna teach you. So don't stress about this. They hire you, they're gonna teach you.
Thank you for saying this. I think this is so important. No, seriously, I think so many people like are wasting time, like years studying engines.
I mean, like, I know for some colleges it's like in the schedule to learn like Unreal. Like my colleague from Foreigner, for example, he was teaching in college and he was actually teaching Unreal, I think. But honestly, like, and especially for people out there who are self-taught, I think there's still a lot of people who are self-taught. I don't just skip it. I mean, there is a good chance you're not gonna guess which engine people will use at your studio.
Yeah, I see. So what's your favorite part of like character creation actually?
I think ZBrush, pretty much.
Sculpting.
And now, like for example, Ori was done ZBrush for me, because we are at Moon, we're free to choose our own pipeline at some point. So I would start in ZBrush, when Max topology, I usually do in Topogun. It's a small software like nobody using right now, but they still love it.
Uses it.
I mean, but like, we can discuss it if you want. But and then we did taking it to 3D code, and we painted, because Ori is a painted texture, hand-painted texture. We painted in a 3D code in a very specific manner, to look at like painting alive. And then, yeah, we put it in Unity, but like I didn't do this part. It was on animators in this case.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so we were talking about what's your favorite part in...
yeah, my favorite part was actually ZBrush and 3D code. So I like to paint with textures. It's a lot of fun. But I have to say that I weirdly love to do a job that people usually hate. I like to do topology and I like to do UV. I find it really relaxing, like to unfold UV and pack UV especially, like packing UV, like just amazing.
I've actually, I think now I see that there are two types of artists. Those that love doing topo and UV, and those who absolutely hate it.
Yeah, I find it relaxing.
Yeah,
and I think like this is a sign for me that I choose the right profession, because, for example, early university I tried to do sewing. I was looking into fashion as a career, and as much as I love to do planning and I love to wear the result, I completely hate to do patterns. Like I was like in the middle of work, I just want to throw it away. Like, I hate it. And then I landed in the games, and I was so lucky. I love almost every step. There is boring parts, right? If you have to import your model to the engine 10 times and like trying to fix this problem, and it's
Yes.
like not working, you will hate it. But I mean, I still enjoying like 90% of the process. So it's
Wow.
hard for me to tell which part I like. Sometimes even the brushing could be boring, and sometimes even like packing UV in a perfect way is really fascinating. So yeah, something like that.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so let me step aside a little bit from the gaming because we've spoken so much about it. So just to take a break from this topic, I actually wanted to ask what you do for personal projects, because I know I've been following you for quite some time on Instagram and our art station. And I see that, there's like constant updates. Yeah. So can you tell a little bit more on what you do with your art in your spare time?
I do a lot of art in my spare time. This is basically
Yeah,
my
this is so true. Yes, I see
my
that.
work and my hobby. Right now, I have to finish this project I started doing for NVIDIA. They sent me laptop in order for me to produce them a tutorial. And then unfortunately, I ran into this crunches at work, so I can't really spend a lot of time doing that. So hopefully I will finish it soon, and you will have like some tutorials online I made for them
Very nice.
on sculpting. But for myself, I like to do just like sculpts. I like to do like stuff I can exercise character design on my own. I don't work with concept for my own. I'm a concept artist for myself, and I'm sculptor for myself, which is
Yeah, I can see that you have this very characteristic style. That
thank you.
we'll put a link on for to the show notes. No, seriously, I think it's quite specific. So I was wondering also, did you get inspiration for this somewhere, or like, do you see any link to some other art?
So talking about inspiration, I mostly going for classical art and sculpture for inspiration, and I love history, and I love costuming. So this is where it comes from most of the times.
Okay, I see.
I'm yeah. What else can I say about
No,
it?
I mean, it was just it actually does resemble a little bit like classic sculpture, just like with a different style. Yeah.
Sort of, and then as I'm not the person who go in for inspiration to ArtStation,
Okay.
because and we can I can talk about it, but I can make it really short. But at some point, I think like ArtStation as a representation of CG art at some point becoming an echo chamber when everybody copying everybody without trying to go and look outside. And what's good about classical art is nobody looking into classical art anymore. Just like very few people actually go in there for inspiration. So like I have the whole world for myself.
That is so true. That is so true. Not trendy.
Yeah, then in I mean those guys know they stuff. And the other thing is obviously we right now, if we go to museum, we have the best of the best. Because like all kind of mediocre art is just disappear in time because nobody cares, nobody keep it, nobody care to put it in a museum. And we like Rodin, for example, is a huge inspiration for me. Russian sculptor Golubkina, Like nobody know that name, even in Russia. But she is a fantastic. And if you want, I can send you a link and you can put it in the description.
Sure, yeah, definitely.
Um,
100%.
She is actually a student of Redan, so I mean, love her work. I mean, she's kind of amazing. Yeah, things like that, and all kind of Russian and European painters, book illustrators, etc., etc. Endless. Like I sometimes, like everybody going for reference, like can't stop myself.
Yeah. Well, I guess, you're exactly like your landscape for references is definitely unlimited. Like, there's so much like back in the history, in modern history as well. Well, and since you mentioned Golubkina, who's also a woman in art, like yourself, I cannot avoid asking you, why do you think there are so few girls in the industry? Like, is it gender bias? Like, seriously, you're the first solo girl on the podcast, and we've run quite a few episodes, and it's actually pretty hard to find girls, among digital artists. What's wrong? What do you think?
First, I try harder. There is a lot. The other thing is it's coming. Like I've been giving a lecture in a local college last spring, and the guy who's teaching there said that the first year he have like 50-50, and next no, year before, in 2018 he had 50-50. 19, then I was lecturing, there was more girls in the classroom than the boys, so it's coming.
Oh, wow.
Just wait for that. Reasons for that, I don't know. There's interesting fact about game development in Russia, because then I have a team, Mail.ru. I was working for Mail.ru, and this is the biggest publisher in Russia still at the moment. I have 7 people and only 1 guy in the team. So there was more girls in the games in Russia than it's here. It's really, it's somehow rare still. I think I'm still the only girl in my team, but my team was fairly small. But I think it's changing. First, Russian game development landscape is very different, for example, from what I saw here. But and it's obviously like there is still some gender problems. Even here, not like First World is not completely free of it, but I think it's getting better in general.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Like I'm glad to hear that among like newer generations, it's definitely not the case, which is quite fun.
And I just like I know. Like in general, artists, not everybody's just up to talk into camera, not up to give an interview. Like they are artists, they are most likely introverts and shy. But I mean, just like I will give you a list of names you can interview, and they are all amazing people.
We definitely need girls.
Yeah, you will get.
Thank you. I'm excited now. All right, Alina, as now we're like getting closer to deadline with the time, I'll run you through our traditional 10 questions that I always ask in the end. You can answer with a couple of phrases, with a couple of words. So ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go. So what's your favorite place in the world?
It will be Bucharest, Romania.
Oh, can I ask why?
Because I was living actually in Bucharest for 3 months in 2012, and nature, this culture in between Eastern and Western Europe, everything, and this is probably one of the places I miss, and I won't go back eventually.
Cool, exciting.
Nature and architecture, a lot of medieval castles, with no tourists back then. I don't know, things might change.
Well, depends on when you go now. Okay.
Right now there's nobody.
Right now there are no tourists again. Oh my God, such a timely joke. So when you're working, what are you listening to?
Mostly scientific kind of podcast.
What's your favorite?
So there is it's kind of audiobook, but it's like university courses called great courses. You can find them on Audible, and on different kind of topic, brain science, called neuroscience, history, a lot of history because I like it, politics, social issues, these kind of things. I don't listen music on a regular basis right now.
Okay. How interesting. So
I know.
yes,
That's weird.
Yes, a little, definitely. So, what's your best way to gain inspiration?
That's something that we just talk about. Museums, I like to go to Met Museum. It's in New York. It's fairly close to me. When I visit in Moscow, I usually go to Tretьяков Gallery. I go into Russian Museum, and I'm in St. Petersburg. And I mean, my favorite thing in the world, to be honest.
Okay. Cool. What's your big life goal?
Big life goal. Survive pandemic. People of the future who listen this podcast, we're like in the middle of quarantine.
Yes.
It's a bit scary, but
okay.
Otherwise I don't. I try not to I'm somewhere where I wanted to be, and we'll see how the future will unfold. I'm pretty satisfied with what I have now.
Amazing. I love this attitude. Love this. All right. My next question is, what's your favorite drink?
I don't use alcohol that often. If you force me to choose one, I will choose green tea.
Okay.
But perfect. I do love coffee as well, so.
Okay. Done. That's two then. Fine. What's the first thing that you do in the morning when you wake up?
I having a coffee. Exactly this. People who go on a solo career, first thing you should do is buy coffee machine. That's what I done. I have a coffee machine. I do myself a good latte. I'm sitting on the couch and meditating for 15 minutes. Not like real meditation, just putting myself together to start with the day, to turn on my computer and to be able to do my daily routine, etc.
Nice. That's quite a lovely morning routine. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. What's your backup career?
If you ask me now, I really would love to do neuroscience. I'm so curious how brain works, so curious how people are learning stuff. This is a huge mystery. This is partially because I want to improve on learning myself, and in general, I'm kind of this amateur interested in those kind of things.
Nice. Okay. What's your recent favorite, let's say, a book or a movie?
Recent.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a recent book or recent movie. Something that you read or watched recently.
Recently, for the recent, not all-time favorite, right? It will be Yuval Noah Harari. It's a 21 lesson for 21st century. I don't know if you ever read him. He's.
I'm literally writing it down.
21st lesson, 21 lesson for 21st century, and this is nonfiction. He is historian who tried to think about the future, not a predict, right? It's not forecasting, but he tried to work with current realities, a world that rapidly changing, just in front of our eyes, and he tried to think how it may impact our future. This is very thought-provoking. Even if you won't agree with it, the problem with humanity, even what we see now outside, literally outside. People are so short-sighted. Like even with this pandemic, we can see how we are unable to predict what's gonna happen. And that's why we actually should think more about future and what humanity is doing to itself and with technology and how it will impact like the life of our kids in the future.
Oh, wow. Sorry, I was muted. I was saying thank you very much. I think I'm definitely going to read that now that we all have so much time to read and improve and learn. Okay. Before I go fluffing more again. So who are some of your legends? Well, again, you actually already mentioned that.
Yeah, well, all that people.
All that
From
people
the past. Like I love my peers. I love a lot of my peers. I follow them on Instagram, Facebook, but I just for now trying to avoid name any names because the list gonna be way too long.
Yeah. Again, sorry guys, sorry everybody.
Like hey guys, like
Rodin and yeah. Okay. So and the last one is what are some of the things on your bucket list?
I don't have any. I think like most of the artists don't have really list of things to do. So no.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Amazing. Alina, thank you so much. That's been great. Yeah. And we finished the podcast with the three of us.
Yeah. Look, this is my coworker. This is my boss.
Hello, boss.
His name is Vanya.
Hello,
Vanya. He has a Russian name.
Yes, I see. Very cool. Oh yeah, like last thing before we finish, your online nickname Fox in the Box.
Fox from Box, yes.
Fox from Box. Sorry. So where does it come from? I mean, it's not related to the hair color.
No. It's like I used to have like red hair color back then, and it's just a stupid. I come up with a name for email and then it's stuck, but it's not something I care about all that much. So
okay,
I will probably change it.
Come on, it's so easy to remember.
I know.
So easy to remember, and especially when you see you and you're like, that's right.
And sometimes people see it as a tongue twister too much, and I don't have that time anymore. People make an assumption, right? That then I probably into foxes. Like I like animals, like cats. This was a situation where I have to come up with email very fast and like, let's do that, and then it's stuck because okay, why not call like Mart Station that? But I don't care that much.
Okay,
just talking too much about it for something.
No, but it's cool. Anyways, I was just going to say that it's really easy to remember. So guys, if you want to follow Alina, now you know that it's Fox from Box on ArtStation and on Instagram. Alina, okay, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you around.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, guys. Amazing. Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening to our lockdown episode. I hope you stay safe. I hope you stay sane, which is more important, and take advantage of this time. Don't go into the rabbit hole of social media, but rather spend some time productively, read a book, watch something nice, go through the course that you've always wanted to go through. And if you don't have that much plans yet, join us at Stylized Character Program. We've got amazing mentors guiding you through the process of your stylized character creation. So within these weeks, you can definitely add an epic piece to your portfolio. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in a week. And hopefully some of us are not in the solitude. All right, guys. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Art Heroes Podcast. Check out www.artheroes.co for show notes, more interviews, and free tools made for you by our team of mentors. Tune in next week for more inspiration, and keep up the great work, hero.